artists collectively, they're dreaming our future. Artists are as fundamental to any community than anything else that we can think about.
Welcome to Future Money. My name is Kokayi. This is a space where we explore the intersections of technology, finance, and culture. But more importantly, how all of that shows up in real life. Because money isn't just currency. It's access, it's power, it's relationships, it's imagination. And for a lot of us, especially those who've been underrepresented, it's about reclaiming agency. On this show, I sit with artists, thinkers, builders, and leaders who are shaping what the future actually looks like, not just in systems, but in how we live, create, and connect. Today's conversation is with Kristina Newman-Scott, a cultural strategist, institution builder, and someone who's been moving at the intersection of art, media, and civic life for over 2 decades. From Kingston, Jamaica, to leading major cultural institutions, and now shaping national investment in the arts. Her work really challenges how we think about value and infrastructure and what it means to invest in people. This one is about capital beyond money, culture as infrastructure, and how the things we grow up with, sound, community, perspective, quietly shape the decisions we make at the highest levels. So let's get into it. Welcome, Kristina, and thank you for your time and for speaking with us today.
Oh, it's so wonderful to be here with you, Kokayi.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was great to meet you, very serendipitous, to meet you in DC. You grew up in Kingston.
I did.
And started your career in radio and television.
Well, I started as a painter.
Oh, okay.
I was a painter. I studied art at Edinburgh College of the Visual and Performing Arts in Kingston. And then when I graduated, the first job I got in the gig economy was a radio host for Fame FM.
Nice. What did growing up in Kingston teach you about resources? Not just money, but like culture, creativity, and relationships.
Well, Jamaican people, I got to tell you, no matter where you come from in Jamaica or what your socioeconomic background, I think in our spirit, as with many across this world of ours, there's a very much like we're going to figure it out. If we don't have it, we're going to find it. We're going to will it into existence. So my parents, I have the story, as many do, where my parents worked so hard in order to give me and my sister the kind of quality of life that they might not have exactly had. And so I really had a beautiful life growing up in Jamaica, really strong community. But unlike my sister, I stayed on the island for college where she went to Florida. And so I had to figure out as an artist what it meant at that time to be a practitioner in a place where it wasn't like resources for the arts were abundant. That meant leaning into whole heap of things that you never know you had to lean into.
Right. Being resilient and being able to shift gears when you needed to shift gears. And I heard you talk about storytelling. And how did storytelling and listening in those environments prepare you for the kind of leadership that you practice now?
Oh man, what a good question. Well, Jamaicans full of story. You can't even ask a Jamaican for directions without getting a full-fledged story about the directions. Okay? So I think being in a space where my teachers, my professors, my colleagues, I think I was so inspired to hear about their journeys, how to be thinking about where I was coming from in terms of being a young Jamaican at the time and listening to some of my female professors who would push us to, in our art, to think about the environment that we're in, what it sound like, what it tastes like, what it feel like, just through the storytelling, there was always a sense of distinct place, a distinct moment in time and place that I think was really inspirational when I reflect on my journey, because place is very important to me and place is very important to Knight Foundation. So I find myself here in a role thinking about 26 communities across America that are very much these individual and distinct places, but all connected by culture, by the way that Knight invests in people, right? So it really kind of guided me through all of the work that I've done since living in the United States to be in this moment very much because of that distinct sense of place and self and time.
And with those ideas of self and place, you talked about infrastructure a little bit and culture.
Yeah,
And I've heard you say before that arts and culture are civic infrastructure,
they are.
which is a powerful idea. What does a city look like when culture is treated with the same seriousness as transportation, housing, or technology?
And listen, there's this report called Arts and Economic Prosperity Report by Americans for the Arts that talks about the economic impact of the arts on X city, X state. You can look it up on the American for the Arts website. And oftentimes you see in that report that what they call arts and cultural production,
Mm-hmm.
which involves sometimes broadcasting, publishing, far surpasses the economic impact of technology and of transportation
Mm,
and of shipping and of retail.
mm,
Okay? So it's so interesting. So what does a city look like? A city looks like when arts and culture is integrated and not thought of as the afterthought with the sprinkle and you're going to go watch it on a stage or look at it on a wall. It looks like a city that is welcoming in all kinds of different ways. So it looks like a city that it's easy for you to navigate, right? The wayfinding is clear and thoughtful. And it's like, you are here and where do you want to go over there? Or we're going to help you understand that through these visuals that we're going to share, right?
mm,
It looks like a place that it's illuminated not only at night and thinking about the varied and beautiful ways that you can integrate light throughout a city that creates health outcomes that are positive, but it's illuminated by the ways in which it invites you to experience it and be, move throughout it.
mhm,
It has a sense again of self. It's not just trying to be a place that has these things in the park that we
mm,
know they're great to have, but it respects its history. It respects shared imagination. It invites its citizens to participate, right? So it's very participatory. It's a place where people are trying to go to live and stay,
mm,
not just pass through. They want to grow roots there because they feel like it is anchored in itself. And oftentimes it has like a swagger.
mm.
It has a swagger because artists are like, we are part of this community, and artists, no matter what their discipline, bring a lot of the swagger, which is why you see some of the most dynamic cities in the world start with artists, but then they're the first to be displaced.
That's amazing. I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of times I think about how institutions and people invest more in the project more than the people, right? So we invest in the project to bring, business down to whatever area we're trying to revitalize, to bring investment into those spaces. And just like you said, oftentimes those persons who create the cool factor are then displaced.
Yep.
And so when you're evaluating your ideas, artists, or organizations, what are the signals that tell you that something is worth investing in?
Yeah.
Is it the work itself, the vision of the person behind it, or something more intuitive?
No, I think it's a lot of different things. It's the person who's leading the work and
Mm,
how fluent they are, right, within this practice. It's organizations and artists and leaders that are cognizant of the role that they play within the place that they exist and the ripple effects of what they're asking support for. So it's not just a kind of timestamp, one and done, but it's about no, this is going to continue to bring others with us, or these are the ramifications long after this happens, and this happens, and this is how it fits within this ecology, or we're trying to build this ecology. So it's people that are aware of the place and space that they hold within communities. And Knight's job is not to dictate what they should be doing, but to amplify. And so we're looking for people who understand what we believe to be true, that arts and culture should be an integrated part of a community. How can we help to make that happen? But it's part of economic mobility. It's a core part of freedom of expression. People that understand that, so it doesn't unintentionally reaffirm the kind of two-dimensional way that people think about art.
mhm. At Future Money, we try to rethink what capital looks like.
Mm,
And in your work, whether you were at Brick
Mm-hmm.
or in the government
Mm-hmm.
or now at the Knight Foundation, you've moved a lot of fiscal resources
Mm-hmm.
through a lot of cultural ecosystems.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you personally think about capital beyond the financial, right? So like social capital, cultural capital, and the major one, trust. And how does that thinking shape the partners and projects that you
Yeah.
invest in?
Oh, I love your question so much. I think for me, that trust, the foundational is
Mm,
the relationships that you're building so that people, especially now that I am blessed and, really honored to be in a role that I, with my team, get to think about where to allocate resources
hmm
and not just financial resources, to your point, but, we come to this work as practitioners.
mm,
The team that I have, even though we're small, we're 6, we're close to 100 years worth of experience in arts and culture. So
hmm
we're coming to this work with a deep respect for those who are doing it. And so first it's about this relationship. We need to be looking at each other in the face and the eyes, and we need to like listen, understand, be present, be in
hmm
community, experience the work together. So that's fundamental for me. I also think that with that, when we think about like, financial capital, the when I was working for the city of Hartford, where I learned so much more about what it means to have arts and culture within civic practice. I worked with folks in the Department of Planning and small business and housing development, and we had culture based in this kind of economic development office. They
hmm
called it the Department of Development Services. And so oftentimes my colleagues wouldn't understand and know about art as, arts education in the schools, or the park is going to throw the jazz show, or,
hmm
kind of expected ways that you'd engage with it. But with what I was learning from my colleagues in the small business office, they really were teaching me about kind of some of the frontline issues they saw with starting small businesses in Hartford.
hmm
And we were able to come together with our distinct vantage points, building trust together in
hmm
order to pilot a program that allowed us to start treating the artists as small businesses, because they are that.
hmm
They are small business people, but they weren't considered that, right? On its face, they weren't considered that, even though that's what they are. But we co-created a program that invited, RFPs from all these remarkable creative businesses across Greater Hartford. And then we got to incubate them, working with the real estate developers to give us spaces that were vacant, that incubated them from a year to 2 years. So it wasn't like a pop-up in a shop or a easel through a window.
hmm
These were businesses that were going in, and we gave them the resources to start them up. So I think curiosity is critical to get to the place that you need to get, and it's not always about the money. It's about, let me understand what's happening here, because we can build this brain trust and I can connect to these folks. We can do, XYZ. We can, that's what partnership looks like. We at Night have a posture that wants to invite conversation that is not just about the transactional kind of financial conversations that are common with organizations like ours.
I appreciate that. And it sounds to me like that as an organization, you lean into, providing agency for the ability for people and communities to shape their own futures.
100%.
And from your vantage point, what roles do artists, because we hear about institutions, but what roles do artists and cultural workers play in helping communities reclaim that kind of agency?
Oh my gosh. I mean, in so many artists are truth tellers, they are knowers,
Mm,
they are oftentimes the folks in the community who have the most trust. And I say that to say too, sometimes like auntie that has had a practice of weaving for 55 years, but she wasn't like trying to be in a museum,
hmm
but her creative practice has been sustained. Everyone goes to auntie because they know that she knows what's happening, and she's going to tell you. Not only is she going to tell you what's really happening, she's going to show you through her work. It's where there's a lot of ability to dream the future.
mm,
And artists collectively, they're dreaming our future, and they have the power to dream. And you know what this feels like. I mean, Kokai, when I saw you perform, I was like all goosebumped, we
Oh,
were
thank you.
all goosebumped because you are able to share your wisdom and talent with us in a way that allows us to see and feel possibility.
Mm,
So artists are critical and they're not sidelined. Artists are as fundamental to any community than anything else that we can think about. Artists are working in all different forms. Without them, our world is pretty boring and unattractive.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
think about this. When
yeah.
you go on vacation, right? When the average person just says, I'm going to take a vacation, I'm going to go with my loved ones, I'm going to go with whoever, we're going to go.
Mhm.
What are the top three things that come to mind that you think when somebody is going to go away on vacation? What comes to mind for them in terms of experience? What do they want to do? What do you think?
They want to go out. They want to sit on a beach,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
They want to buy something,
Yes.
right, native to the country,
Yes.
and they want to experience the culture.
Yes, they wanna eat the food, they wanna see the
Hmm.
buildings, they wanna, like, be in a
Hmm.
place that, they're exactly doing that, they're learning a thing, or they're eating a thing, or they're taking a
Right.
picture of a thing. Why, if we know that, and no matter what work you do in life, no
Mm.
matter what discipline you're in, from hedge fund to hedge cutter, if you're gonna go away on a vacation and you value those are the
Hmm.
things that you carry with you as values.
Mm.
Why don't we deserve that in our neighborhood? Why don't we deserve to live in the places that give us the same sense of wonder and harmony that the culture does in these other places that we wanna go?
Hmm.
Why don't we value that? And guess who helps to make all those things possible? The artists, you know?
100%, absolutely. And I think this leads into my next question.
Mhm.
We like to talk about the past and the things that shape us. And I think a lot of times when we don't value those things is because we're socialized not to value those things. We're
Yeah.
socialized to believe that vacation is 5 days as opposed to a month. We're socialized to believe that culture and artists are actually living the life of Riley, that it's folly as opposed to work. And so we devalue that. And specifically in this country, other
Yeah.
countries kind of get it right. But I think, overall artists are not valued for their ability to tell stories across history, right? To be the griots of their time and to give us that, just the example you gave of the auntie, right? Being able to hold those secrets and those recipes and pass those on.
Right.
And speaking of childhood, because we like to go into the past, what were like the early signs for you that end
Yeah.
up shaping your cultural landscape at this scale? And did that surprise you?
I had to think about this recently, and it really when I really sat with myself and reflected on what were kind of some pivotal moments as a child that helped me even get here,
Hmm.
because I remembered growing up, my mother managed supermarkets and owned supermarkets, and she managed a supermarket in Kingston called Lenhap Supermarket, which was owned by an uncle, like a dear family friend who I called uncle, and he was a major art collector. He died
Mm,
some years ago, and I would go there after school. I think I was like maybe 6, 7, 8, can't remember. I was sitting on the floor of the office where you can look out onto the supermarket floor. And I would be playing with magazines that are Sotheby's and Christie's and flipping through and looking on like Frida Kahlo and all kind of stuff that
mm,
I didn't even know who these people were, right? But I had this memory of having all these magazines and access to these magazines and seeing my uncle's collection at his home, or when my family would have my other uncles who were also in the art business. One was a framer and
mhm,
collector as well. So I grew up with like it being very natural, like the conversation, but my parents weren't really bringing it home daily, but there were these people in our community. And because of my exposure to these images, I feel that was like the seed that stayed with me.
mm,
I always remember, to this day, I can remember what my Uncle Guy's living room and my Uncle Wallace's hallway looks like from when I was a little girl. The artwork was salon style, it was, like, everywhere. The magic of seeing all this work by predominantly Black artists too.
mm.
I wasn't processing that at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But when I had to sit with myself, that's what I was reminded of. And it's so powerful, the things that your kids get exposure to, that plant the seed that they will find and water,
Mm,
you know?
that's a blessing. Yeah, for sure. And speaking of that, we talked about the past and the present and
Mhm.
the future. I have two remaining questions. You're currently in the process of building new things and new ideas and, shaping the future currently. When you think about all of the things that you've accomplished and the way
Yeah.
that you're looking at how you've built these ecosystems and just doing life, right?
Mhm.
What would you say to your past self? That's the first question. And then thinking about what the next 20 years of technology and media and cities, what gives you optimism about where artists, community, and institutions are headed?
What would I say to my past self? Well, I'm gonna say what I had to say when I was invited to do this talk a long time ago in 2014 that told my story about going from being a painter in Jamaica to the head of culture for Connecticut, which is like, how'd you do that?
Right.
What is for you can't unfor you. Just
Mm,
knowing that. What is for you can't unfor you is we all know it in different formats. We all say it. If it's yours, it's yours. It can't be on yours. There's all kinds of ways. But that I would say that to myself and just trusting that I am where I'm supposed to be. I am where
mm,
I'm supposed to be. And then in terms of looking ahead, like 20 years with the ways that the world is shifting, there's something about being in community with art and artists, that human to human connection, the experience from something that a hand has touched or a voice has blessed, that can never be replaced.
mm,
And I'm excited about a world that acknowledges and takes that beauty with us as we continue to dream the future,
mm,
and that technology becomes in service of reaffirming the human spirit.
mm.
That's what I hope for.
That's the mic drop right there. Yes. Well, again, thank you for your time and thank you
Thank
for this
you.
conversation, Christina. What I keep coming back to is this idea that capital is culture, it's trust, it's relationships and vision, and it's not just money.
Mm-mm.
And when you start to see it that way, you realize how much power already exists within our communities, right? And that's what future money is about, expanding how we think about value
Yeah.
and who gets to define it. And if something in this conversation resonated with you, the listener, share it with someone in your circle. These ideas grow through dialogue and through community and through movement. And we would hope that you make sure that you're tapped in, subscribe, follow all that stuff, and stay connected with us as we keep building these conversations at the intersections of culture, technology, and finance. Should people look you up? They want to find you on LinkedIn or wherever?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. It's if you just type my name in, Kristina Newman-Scott, I'll come right up.
Thank you so much. My name is Kokayi. See you next time. I appreciate you.
Thank you.